All right, guys. So, after a not great performance against Uzbekistan on Saturday, much better performance today against Oman, where the USA won 4-0. Opening goal from Fowler and Balogun made it 1-0 until halftime. And then in the second half, very, very fortuitous Brendan Aaronson free kick that managed to squeak in between their wall, made it 2-0. And then after that, they kind of gave up and we capitalized on it. Pepi getting a nice finish and then Kevin Paredes forcing a own goal. So two things. That was a lot better than what we saw against Uzbekistan, but also Oman were a lot worse than Uzbekistan in so many ways. And I felt actually at times we could have taken advantage of it more and we didn't. But certainly, hey, Tac, certainly it was a much better performance than what we saw against Uzbekistan. I thought there was more fluidity in that game overall. I thought also Oman gave us a lot more space to be able to kind of just run things. And it could have been more. It could have been 7 or 8-0 easily. We just didn't really capitalize on the chances that we had. And also the good positions we got into, the final ball was often quite poor.
It also seemed like Oman didn't it seem like Oman just kind of quit in the last 10, 15 minutes?
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Once Aaronson's goal went in, they were just like, what's the point? And this is like, it's the same thing as playing. I don't want to say, I honestly think it might be the same as playing a Grenada or a Trinidad and Tobago. Like, it's hard to maybe not that bad, but not far off, certainly. And so it's hard to take too much from it apart from just enjoy the win, you know? It took us long enough to get that second goal. We should have got it a lot sooner. But once again, it's Berhalter ball against a very poor opponent, you know?
At the end of the day, when you look at the opponents we faced this camp, it's not really something you build off for anything. Besides, like, fluffing up his stats. Besides that,
that's what this camp was for, wasn't it? It was to essentially fluff up his record.
Because I was even talking about this in the stream. We're going to talk about each player, but like, for example, Christopher Lund, watched him play. What did I learn? Nothing. He didn't do bad, didn't do good. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, Sam Vines probably would have played the same way this game. Done fine.
Yeah, I think we need to see. I mean, I'm really looking forward to Germany and Ghana because that will tell us a lot more, in my opinion, about this team. It's hard to read too much into this, except for the poor performances. And let's start with, let's start with the positives. We're not going to do player ratings just yet, obviously. Obviously, the positives are the 4-0 win, but that's like, duh. I want to say I enjoyed that Gregg played with a 10. Even though I didn't think Tillman was great, I think he had some bright moments in an otherwise not great performance. But the fact that he was even willing to try it, at least I liked that from Gregg. It's a small glimmer of hope that maybe once Gio is back, he'll play him at the 10. I don't know. Maybe not. But it does show that there's some flexibility there.
My only concern with that is, like, tactically, he wasn't positioned as a 10, right? He was more like an 8. But you mean like
he played a creative attacking midfielder.
A creative attack. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's a good one. He played it and put Yunus Musa at the 6 again. I like to see Yunus Musa at the 6 against a very good opponent. I like to see how he does. I'm not overly optimistic about it, but this game was impossible to judge that.
Yeah, it's impossible to really judge anything except for the poor performances. But I like that he was willing to try it. I like that Paredes got some minutes. Not enough, in my opinion. Personally, I thought he should have gotten a few more, but it was good to see him get on the field. Other positives, I thought there was more fluid interchange, and not in the final third so much, but in the through midfield. Sometimes McKennie would drift wide. Weah would sometimes go out on the left. There was a little bit more. It definitely wasn't as rigid as we saw against Uzbekistan.
Yeah, the problem is definitely McKennie was roaming a lot. He was essentially a roaming playmaker throughout the game.
But you can also do that when you have another attacking midfielder there playing behind Balogun, right?
Yeah, I'll talk about negatives because I think the Tillman was a positive and a negative, him playing, because he played a creative or a player that's an attacking midfielder, but he still didn't play in a 4-2-3-1 with a guy right in behind. Like, he didn't position them in that way, right? Berhalter. So it's a positive and a negative. The negative, it's tactically, Tillman was not a 10. But at the same time, yes, he finally played a player that has the instincts of a 10, and it looked better. But again, we don't know because of the opponent. Everything's so tricky to judge in a game like this. I guess you want a positive? Our nine scored, both of them, Balogun and
Yeah.
Pepi. That is a positive. That the
Yeah.
game, some of the goals came from the nines. That is a positive. Um, trying to think of what else.
I
We
mean,
still
clean
had
sheet.
clean
Apart from
sheet.
individual performances, which I'm talking, um, we didn't score off any set pieces. The positives are nobody got injured, I guess, as far as we know.
No, I guess Kramaski got a cap. That's good. Is a player we're recruiting. Not that it matters too much, but he got a
Yeah,
cap.
I didn't
That's a
think Kromaski
positive.
was very good when he came on, but yeah.
No, no, he wasn't great. But again, we talked about how he wouldn't be there if he only had one passport. He wouldn't be there. So,
Yeah, still
um,
very not a lot of play through midfield, a lot of wide play, a lot of crosses, a lot of long switches, a lot of overlaps. Very much Berhalter ball, just Berhalter ball against a very weak opponent, right? And so hard to draw too much from that.
well, just one thing, because I don't want to sound like a downer, so I want to add this context to it. The main issue with us trying to squeeze out positives out of this is because of the opponent. It's very hard to find and squeeze out positives when we weren't tested. That is the
Yeah,
problem. So defensively, what am I going to say about Miles, Richards, McKenzie, Hor? They weren't tested. They what they had to do, they did it, and that's it.
I
Even
think
Yunus Musa playing as a six, he wasn't tested defensively very often.
so. I think when we play teams like Uzbekistan and against Oman, we expect an overwhelming performance, right? Because of the gap in quality between us and them. Our standard should be we want to overwhelm them, we want to create multiple chances, and we want to score a bunch of goals, right? That's our main expectation from games like this. Now, we did not see that against Uzbekistan. We did see it today against Oman because we
Hmm.
created a bunch of chances we didn't score from. Like that could have been 8 or 9 easily, right?
Hmm.
That's fine. Like that shouldn't be cause for celebration or cause to read into it. It should just be great. Expectations were met, job was done. Now
Hmm.
let's see what we look like against Ghana and Germany because those are going to be real tests, right? So you're right. It's more like okay, well done, got job done, did the thing. It's not like oh my god we should celebrate. It's more like good, we did what we were supposed to do, right?
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. That's another. I guess we can add that to the positive. We talked about how Uzbekistan. It was a fake 3-0 win. I guess that's probably the best way to put it because the game wasn't actually like the way the game played out. It didn't feel like a 3-0. It was far more balanced. We scored at the end, playing men up. This game was a 4-0, and it felt like it could have been 6, 7, and 8, which is what you expect from our players when we face an opponent like this. So they did do what they had to do. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect, but it should have been more, but that is fine. Like finishing being the issue is okay. What matters is that we created. We can fix that later on. That's an individual performance problem. That's not even a Gregg Berhalter problem if they can't finish. They're creating.
Yeah,
So I guess we can place that as a positive too. But the thing is, even when we go now towards the negatives, I don't know if there's even that many negatives either.
I think there's a few. Certainly,
Not
I
too
do
many.
think that Pulisic was a standout in a bad way. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think Pulisic was. He was better than he was against Uzbekistan.
Less worse. Less worse.
Yeah, he wasn't as bad as he was against Uzbekistan, but he still was not great for the standards that we've come to expect of Christian Pulisic. And people say, oh, maybe he's worried about the Milan derby. Maybe he's trying not to get injured. No, if you're on the field playing for the national team and you're our best player, there are certain expectations about your performance level. And I don't think he met that. I'm not going
Yeah.
to hold it against him. Certainly, Pulisic has enough games that matter where he really shows up. World Cup, Mexico, World Cup qualifying, Nations League games. That's where he shows up. That's fine. If my trade-off is going to be Pulisic's going to be poor in friendlies, but he's going to show up when it matters, which he has been, then fine. That's fine by me. I'm not going to hold that against him as much.
No, it doesn't change his position in the depth chart in any way, shape,
No.
or form. It's just disappointing because these are the games that you would expect Pulisic to stand out. possibly, score a lot of goals, get maybe 3 goals in 2 games, get an assist, get more stats, to live up to what he is, which he is. He could become the best U.S. men's national team player of all time when the career is done in terms of numbers, right? In terms of talent, I think right now he is the number one of all time. But in terms of numbers, and these were the games where Pulisic should have come out with probably 3 goals. Instead, he had 1 goal from a penalty kick in the last minute against Uzbekistan that didn't matter. So it was a very disappointing camp for Pulisic. Again, doesn't really change in any way, shape, or form how I see him, but it was a big disappointment. Trying to think of another negative from this game. I kind of talked about it already. I thought Tillman's position was a negative because as much as I like the fact that Berhalter was willing to play an attacking midfielder right at the 8, a player that would have the characteristics, the attributes, and the instincts to create, and he's more technical in tight spaces, so he can actually do something. He still had him positioned more as an 8. And then in possession, he would go a bit higher up the field, but he was still drifting wide. It wasn't really like a central attacking midfield that you'd want to see. So the negative there is it still wasn't a 4-2-3-1 truly from Berhalter. It was better because you had a player there, but it wasn't truly that.
Well, if he puts Gio as one of the attacking 8s at this point, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, that for sure. If he does that in October, I'm like, I'm good at that. I don't care if he
puts Gio as an attacking 8, and sometimes Gio has to drop or like shift wide a little, I'll take it at this point. The other thing about Tillman was it was more of a 4-4-2 diamond at times because McKennie would go left and he would open up his body and he would switch it all the way wide. And when he would do that, McKennie would pull left, Pulisic would push central, and when Pulisic pushed central, Tillman would almost push to the right a little bit in that diamond, and then Musa at the 6. So he alternated between in a dual 8 or being almost like a shuttler in that 4-4-2 diamond. So it was, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad. At least that's my main thing. When we play opponents like this, I want an overwhelming game with a lot of chances created. If we do that, fine. It's not like going to tell us much, but it will give us the satisfaction of, okay, we played up to the level mostly that we know we can play to.
Let me ask you one question here before we ask people to hit the like button, because you always forget that people can hit the like button. But
oh yeah, guys, smash the like button.
Yeah. One thing that I found interesting was McKennie played a different role. He was like a roaming playmaker. He had a lot of freedom to drift left, but he also drifted right. Good switches in play, looked comfortable on the ball. Do you think he can play that role against a better opponent? A good opponent, not a better, because he can do that probably against El Salvador, Panama. Can he do that against a very good opponent?
No, because they gave him so much space.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of times I didn't understand. He would open his body up, look up, and then have tons of time and spaces. I don't understand why they didn't close him down on those. It's Oman. They were terrible. They gave him so much time and space to do it. And to his credit, he took advantage of that. He was probably our best player on the night, in my opinion. But you're right. Against a good opponent, that's not going to work.
Yeah, my concern is like the good things that happen in this camp, the good things that happen, what does it validate? Like what is something that you get and you're like, okay, against Germany, let's do the same. You're not going to go against Germany and tell Weston to play like this same playmaking role. Or even Ghana, because it's not going to work. That's not his game. He's very good crashing the box, a box-to-box midfielder, covering ground. But this is not his game. So what I'm trying to figure out here is, from this camp, what worked that validates to try it on the next one? Because talked about Weston, that was good. Do we want him playing that role again? No, probably won't work. Christopher Lund, can he be the backup of A-Rob? I didn't learn anything. We'd have to see it again. Yeah. No idea. Sam Vines could have had the same performance. Who knows?
Or John Token.
John Token or Daewon Jones, any of them. And then you keep going on with other players. Yunus Musa at the 6. I don't know. Like, based on what I see in the club level, no, I wouldn't want him as a lone 6. But for this camp, he looked fine today as a 6. But again, nothing is being validated. So I would like to know if there's anything that comes to your mind that we can use for the next one, or anyone in the chat, because that just comes to show, what did we learn in this camp? What can we use in the future? And I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, this is why quality of opponent matters. This is why when they set up friendlies, when they announced these Uzbekistan and Oman, we went, great. Like, what are we going to learn from that? You might as well pay. Honestly, you might be better off playing Costa Rica than Oman, right? Like, I just don't know what you learn from playing these teams. And then I know they try to ham it up. Berhalter's like, these teams are ninth and 10th in Asian qualifying. So
That's
they
terrible.
might, yeah, that's awful, Gregg. He's like, well, they might qualify for the World Cup. Sure. If FIFA expands the World Cup to 100, the Faroe Islands might qualify. That doesn't make them a good opponent. But, it's just, we knew we were going to learn nothing. The only thing that you're going to learn is the bad, and especially against Uzbekistan, that was very worrying. Alexander Mantooth, if this is Berhalter ball, then sign me up. 2 games, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. Keep a clean sheet every game, you'll win Copa America. This is the way.
You don't play
Alexander,
Oman and Uzbekistan in the Copa America.
I'm sure he's trolling.
I
I'm
know, I
sure
know, I
he's
know, I know.
trolling. Thank you for that very insightful
I
contribution.
could sense the sarcasm there.
Yeah, there's too much. It's well written, Alex. Forget Berhalter ball. After watching Man City for years, can you explain how to play offense with a 4-3-3?
Well, they don't
Okay,
always play in a 4-3-3. There's that too.
yeah, to start off with. But also, Rangrav, it's the player profiles within that 4-3-3 that matter. Okay, if you had Giovanni Reina and Luca Della Torre as the dual eights in a 4-3-3, that 4-3-3 looks very different than if you have 2 box-to-box midfielders in a 4-3-3. Also, your wingers. Tim Weah, for example, is a very different style winger than Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is not a winger, but he would play oftentimes as a tucked-in winger, sort of the way that Gregg is trying to get Gio Reyna to play in that 4-3-3 that is never going to work. A little bit more like Pulisic tucking inside. A formation is just a starting point, right? If Giovanni Reina plays in a 4-3-3 and he has the ability and the freedom to play down through the middle, to find balls in behind, line breaking passes, to try to combine centrally with Balogun, that 4-3-3 looks very different than a 4-3-3 with, say, Musa and McKennie. So a formation is just a starting point. You can attack multiple ways with a 4-3-3, right? The problem is whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 diamond or a 4-2-3-1, our primary offensive tactic is push wide and cross, right? So even if you change the formation, that isn't going to change very, very much. That's just
Well,
my take.
and Pep changed throughout the years too. Also, the whole thing with Kevin De Bruyne, there were times where he also switched Kevin De Bruyne more central and he would drift wide, almost like a Mezzala playmaking going wide. And a lot of the things, look at who played wing as a winger for Manchester City very often. It would be also like Bernardo Silva. He's a playmaker. He's a 10. And what Pep kind of started to do, and you guys can go watch Manchester City and see that, he had the wingers really stay out wide to provide width, and he became very direct. And it's a lot different from us because when you're with Manchester City, you can just sign players that can fit a system or a style of play you want to play. With the United States, it's a bit different. Now, we talked about actually, Pete, a few times, and maybe he doesn't remember about how we see the 4-3-3 working and the way I see it too. We play a 4-3-3. You have 3 guys in the midfield. You have a destroyer, a box to box, and a creator. That is one way it can work. So what do we mean by that? Destroyer, more of like a Tyler Adams like. He's focused on defending, doing the dirty work, and connecting with the box to box or the creator. Box to box, a guy like McKennie, Musa too. A guy that can run back and forth, can progress the ball forward, dangerous when he gets in the box. That's more of McKennie and covers a lot of ground. And then the playmaker, which would be probably a Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, a guy that is more creative, than that can play in tight spaces, can get a nice turn and put a through ball. That is one way a 4-3-3 can work. You don't necessarily have to play a 4-2-3-1 to have a 10. That is kind of what Berhalter did today. But Musa is not really a destroyer as a 6, but that's what we mean. Take Musa out, put Tyler Adams, keep McKennie, and then put Gio Reyna. That is one way. That is a balanced 4-3-3 midfield. But what Berhalter normally does is he plays a destroyer like Tyler Adams that just does the scrappy work, and then he puts 2 box-to-box midfielders that just drive the ball forward, can't make one pass through the middle, and then they just go out wide every time, and then we whip in crosses. That is the issue that we have with his 4-3-3. It can work, like we talked about here. If he just puts Gio in that midfield with McKennie and Adams, I'm okay with that. It's a really good midfield. Or if you want Musa over McKennie, that's fine too. I prefer Weston over Musa, in my opinion.
Yeah, I prefer Weston over Musa. I think they're very similar, and I think Weston is the more mature player and also the more goal dangerous player.
Hmm.
Alex says not being tested is the same issue with MLS players. Are you referring to we're not being tested, but by playing these friendlies? Because I agree
Hmm.
with you if that's what you're saying. But yeah,
Yeah,
not being tested. Did I hear Martino? Okay, so you're talking about Kyle Martino, the commentator, say the slowness of play and horseshoe style is by design. Well, he's
it
actually
is.
right. It is by design. That's what Gregg wants. That just
Hmm.
because it's by design doesn't mean it's good. You can design something bad. But yes, it's 100%. He's right. I don't know what he said, but he's right. It is by design. That's what Gregg wants. To be fair, it wasn't as slow today. I thought we were quicker to move the ball. We cycled it a lot quicker. It was less predictable. There was more interplay. Again, especially in wide areas, I think Oman gave us a ton of space, a ton of it. But yeah, he's not wrong. Do you think the U.S. scheduled these teams to ease Triple G back in and make him look good first game back like college football teams do? I don't know what college football teams do, but yes. Yes, I think that was 100% the goal of these two friendlies. Find very weak teams, try to build some early optimism within the fan base. It didn't really work against Uzbekistan because we looked like shit. Today we looked better for sure, much better, I would say, albeit against a worse opponent. But yes, this is 100% what U.S. soccer was trying to do, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, Bimmy, Pete, and Tac, do you know what college Berhalter went to? I'm guessing it was Holy Cross.
Well, we know because they talked about in the whole kick his wife drama.
It was in New Jersey somewhere, wasn't it?
I don't remember right now, but it was in the whole investigation, the drama, because Claudio Reyna, right? They were all there in the same one.
It was somewhere in New Jersey. I don't know which college it was, but I know
Was
it's
it
in
New
New
Jersey
Jersey.
or wasn't it North Carolina?
Oh, was it NC State?
I thought it was UNC.
Oh, UNC? Possibly.
Yeah,
It's saying UNC. Yeah, they're saying
yeah,
UNC.
University of North. They are, yeah,
He was born
UNC,
in New Jersey, or he's from New Jersey, but he went to
probably. Yeah.
college in UNC. But that's a great dad joke there, Bimmy. Well done. Well done. Brett, how you doing, sir? Horvath, nice distribution. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about Horvath in the player ratings. McKennie balled, and Triple G played a 10. Overall, much less frustrating today, guys. October, we will learn a lot more. Thank you, Brett. And I agree. I think October is where we'll get more answers. I don't know.
Mhm.
The only thing I might take exception to is what Tac said. He wasn't quite a 10, but as a creative attacking midfielder playing centrally, that was good to see.
Yeah, Horvath. There were moments where they passed Horvath some hot potatoes there, and he figured
And
it
he
out with
was
his
one
feet.
touching it in between
Yeah,
the
I
lines.
saw
I was
that
like
too.
very impressed with Horvath today. I mean, he
It
didn't
was
have a ton to
weird.
do from a saving perspective, but
You know
I
what's
thought he looked
happening?
sharp on the ball.
You know what's happening in Nottingham Forest? They have other goalkeepers, so they don't even have him play goalkeeper. They're having him play
They're
field.
playing him in the scrimmage
So
outfield,
it's like super technical now.
especially now that he's the third keeper. They're like, you're playing as a striker in today's 5v5.
And his touch is getting better. He's getting very technical.
Yeah, he's one touching it across the field. Thoughts on a back three with Weah and Dest at wingback? Um, I wouldn't mind seeing a back three tried. I've always thought a 3-5-2 could work quite well for this team with maybe Pulisic as the second striker. The only problem is it depends on the opponent, I would say. It's a little more defensively solid, but you maybe take off another attacking player. I certainly would like to see it tried. You could also play a 3-4-3. I'm not a big fan of 3-4-3 as much just because I think you lose something in midfield. And then you can't really play a 10 and then just one other midfielder. You get overrun in midfield, certainly by the better teams. But I like a 3-5-2, and Gregg has talked about using a back three in this camp. He didn't in the end. We'll see if he does. Watch Gregg do it against Germany. Try something completely new that we've never done before, and then it just doesn't work.
I
But
think
yeah, I'd
Greg.
like to see it tried in a 3-5-2, certainly.
I think he's going to be playing it safe for a while, especially because he has the quarterfinals of the Nations League that works as a qualifier to the Copa America in November. So he's going to play it safe because that is some big risk right there.
Yeah. Lund is a very good pickup for the U.S. Honestly, Turtle, I mean, I'm glad we got another option because I guess more options is better than less options, but I don't think we learned that much. I mean, I thought he played fine. I don't
Yeah,
think
he was
he was
fine.
amazing. I thought he looked good, like had a decent performance, but it's just he had so much space. The amount of times that McKennie found him on the left and he had time to take a touch, look up, almost back up a little bit before putting a cross in. Is he more technical than Anthony Robinson? It's very hard to say. I don't think he runs as awkwardly as Anthony Robinson does. Like Anthony's just when he starts running with the ball, it just looks weird. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's just awkward the way he runs. Lund doesn't have that, but I don't think Lund stood out in like a whoa, this guy is clearly can challenge A-Rob. I think we need to see Lund against better opponents, but I agree with you. It's a good pickup.
Dude,
More options is always better.
I didn't know this, but Harry Maguire scored an own goal today.
Oh, yeah, it was a fantastic finish.
Yeah, good finish by Harry Maguire scoring for Scotland.
He should be a 9, honestly. The amount of own goals this man scores. And then his face. My favorite thing was this confused face.
After he's like, what have I...
It's always like, what? Oh, is that our goal? I thought we was... Oh, no, it's not. Oh, all right. Okay. Well, that's not good. They're going to hammer me in the press tomorrow.
the thing too, what you were talking about Lund right there, I think for Lund is, I don't think he moves up on the depth chart at all in this camp. It's just that he didn't hurt his stock. It's like, okay, he didn't look bad. He looked competent. So let's keep an eye on him and maybe bring him back in the future. Keep an eye. That's all it was for him. I didn't see anything that was tremendous from him, but I didn't see anything bad. It didn't look bad.
Watching Death's shot attempts late in game makes me want to kick a fat kid out of Kmart. Jesus, Mike. Good Lord.
Let's not kick the fat kids on... Wait, Kmart still exist?
Mike Brown woke up today and chose violence, huh?
Didn't Kmart go bankrupt?
That's what you're focused on? I'm talking about...
Oh, yeah. No, because I had a weirder one on my chat.
From Mike Brown also?
No, not Mike. It was Jeff, actually. It was weirder. It was about Pulisic making out with Berhalter in the middle of the game.
Pulisic what?
Make out with Berhalter in the middle of the game.
Someone wanted this?
Well, Jeff kind of...
I can't remember Carey?
Yeah, I can't remember what he said exactly, if he was implying that he wanted it or he was like, what if that happened? And I said, that would probably get in trouble. It's like the employee kissing the boss in the middle of the game.
All right, let's try to stay on track here. Thanks, Jeff.
And then he talked about
That's an image I did not need in my mind, to be honest.
Yeah, also Berhalter's married.
Yeah, and straight, as far as we know. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So
Hank Hill says, Zesty Jeff at it again. That's what he was telling you. He was telling you he was going to be zesty.
Oh yeah, he did tell us.
Yeah. I don't think you got it. You thought zesty meant like he was going to have some hot takes.
Guys, don't what the F me. It wasn't me. I just read the chat.
Yeah, go what the F on Jeff.
Yeah, it was Jeff. Spicy. It wasn't me. I was just reading Jeff's chat. That might be what he meant when he was going to go crazy in the chat. It was funny, but it was like, dude, what?
That's frankly not an image I needed in my head at all. Berhalter making out with anyone is really not an image.
What if he? No, never mind.
All right. In terms of overall negatives, really not too much from this game. No. I thought our finishing was poor. Pepi missed some chances. Des missed 2 great chances. McKennie missed a chance. There were like quite a few chances missed across the board, and that was frustrating. But I'll say this. I'm more okay with missing chances than not creating chances. If we weren't creating chances, it would be more worrying to me than not finishing them.
No, I am 100% with that. I think because the thing with missing chances is just like player mistake. It'd be a day off. That's something else. The whole thing is like how the collective group plays.
Yeah.
And we created plenty of chances. I thought that was a positive. And fair is fair. We talked about this against Uzbekistan. So we even said that against Uzbekistan. We would have been fine with a 2-0 win, wasting a bunch of opportunities instead of this horrendous 3-0 victory. If it was 2-0 and we missed a bunch of chances, I was like, that happens. That's fine. We fixed that. But that misleading 3-0 win was far worse. So today was a misleading 4-0 win. It should have been like 6-7-8. It was a misleading one. It should have been more. But we played better. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, for sure. Should we get into player ratings? I mean, I know we've only done about half an hour, but we don't need to go a full hour.
Yeah, I think we don't have to, but if you want to, we can do player ratings and maybe just talk about a little bit next camp. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll go.
yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do player ratings, and then if we have some time, we'll talk about, the next camp. Ethan Horvath, I don't think he made a single save, but I thought he was very good with his feet, surprisingly so. I honestly don't remember Horvath ever being that sharp with his feet. So that was good to see. I thought when it came time for collecting balls in the air, like coming out off his line to either punch or collect crosses, he was steady and reliable. He didn't look nervous or shaky at all, considering he hasn't played for 5-6 months, right? I'm going to give him, I guess, 7.5 because he didn't make any saves, but it's not his fault that he didn't make any
Yeah,
saves.
I have a suggestion for us to help with our rating. You know how we always do like 5 is just like average. The guy didn't do bad or good. Can we have like maybe an established rating for a player that's like he did his job well? He did his job. Nothing outstanding, just did his job.
To me, that's a 7.
7.
Like a 7 is you've done your job well without being outstanding.
So I'm giving him a 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Serginho Dest. Okay, I thought Serginho Dest mostly had a good game. He did get beat early on in the game. I don't know if you remember this. He got beaten. A cross came in that was, went nowhere. He was involved with the goal with a very nice one-touch shot off the way a cutback. But then he also had 2 chances that he should have done better with, at the very least put on target, and he failed to do that, which kind of brings him down in my estimation. I was going to give him an 8, but I think I'm going to bring him down to a 7 as a result.
I thought he was the thing with Dest was like he was heavily involved in the game.
Yeah.
Going forward, extremely involved. I have mixed feelings on his performance because it was more of like an 800 performance, which is like very good moments and horrendous moments.
Yeah.
I'll give him I want to give him a 7. I think he gets a bit of a boost because he technically got the assist of the first goal with the shot. It wasn't really an assist, but you get the point. So I'll give him a 7 for this one with that boost.
Yeah. You want to go first on Lund, Christopher Lund?
Yeah, so Lund, I'm just going to give him a 5. I thought it was average everything. I didn't think anything stood out. He didn't have any moments like Dest that were very good, but he also didn't have moments as bad as Dest had throughout the game. Didn't offer much in terms of being dangerous. Didn't really do anything bad in the back. I'm giving him a 5, just average.
I'll give him a 6. I thought he had a couple of nice quality crosses. I will say he does seem to be a better crosser than Anthony Robinson because even with time and space, Anthony Robinson's crossing is like 1 out of 10. Like one good cross out of 10 opportunities.
Well, A-Rob doesn't cross the ball. He kicks it into the box.
Yeah. I thought he's a better crosser. He did have a lot of space. He seems to have a solid floor. That's what I'll say about Christopher Lund. There seems to be a solid floor there that doesn't seem dynamic. I think 6 is fair. 6 is fine for Lund. I'm just going to rate Miles and Richards together because I thought like neither of them stood out in a negative way. There were a few sort of salvos put up by Oman, and they dealt with them pretty nicely. I don't remember, unless I missed it, I don't remember a time where either of them were really like stood out in a bad way. I'm just going to give them both a 7.
Okay, I'll go with that too, just because of the criteria I said earlier of like they did their job for whatever they were tested, which was not much. But yeah.
Musa.
Oh, let me just do one thing, just one correction. I gave Lund a 5, and people might question me saying, well, he did his job. There's more to a fullback than just, passing it sideways and all that. So that's why I give him a 5 and a 7 to the center backs. But yeah, Musa, go ahead. Sorry.
You go first on Musa.
Musa, I thought he had a very good game. Progressed the ball forward very well, too. Very strong in the ball. There was a tackle that could have been a card that he got hit in the midfield. I thought he got injured for a second. Had a pretty nice long shot towards the end of the game. More towards the goalkeeper. It was a very strong strike. Did his job as a 6. I'm going to give Musa probably a 7.5. I thought he did more than just his job. I thought he did a good performance. Again, he was a 6 with a lot of time and space and not plenty of defensive duties. Wasn't tested very often, so that helps. But it's not his fault who we were facing, so I'm giving him a 7.5.
Yeah, I was going to give him a 7, but considering that he's playing excuse me. Sorry. Considering that he was playing out of position, I think 7.5. I'll bump him up half for that. I don't think he ever stood out in a negative way either. So that was good. McKennie. For me, McKennie was our best player. And granted, they gave him a ton of time and a ton of space, but the amount of times he was involved in the first goal, was constantly doing those long switches from left to right. Again, I don't understand why they didn't close him down at all on those, but credit to him for the space he was given. He did great. I'm giving McKennie an 8.5.
Yeah. I guess number wise, it doesn't really matter if I give him. He will be my highest rated player, so I'm just gonna put McKennie a 9 because highly involved in the entire game, played very well. Oman made the guy look like Pirlo at some point. People
I
are gonna take
know.
that, but it's just like
spraying
you're
passes
just like
all over the
getting this,
field.
just like putting a long ball here, switching the plays. Like Oman just gave the guy so much space, and he's a professional player, very good professional player. It made it look like Weston McKennie was Andrea Pirlo. But no, I thought it was very good. I'm giving him a 9. He really controlled the whole midfield right there. Great decision making, precise passing. Big reason why we got the first goal. I thought it was very good.
I really want to see a McKennie, Adams, Reyna midfield at some point. We've never seen that ever. We've seen Reyna, McKennie, Musa. We've never seen Reyna, McKennie. No, Reyna we only saw in.
No, I said like Adams, McKennie, Musa. We've seen a lot.
MMA we've seen a lot. Reyna, McKennie, Musa we've seen a lot. Reyna, McKennie, Adams we've never seen, and I really want to see that against Ghana and Germany. We'll see what Gregg does. I have my doubts. You go first on Malik.
Kind of weird. Malik was one of those that he didn't have a great game, didn't have a terrible game. I don't think by any means he did his job. I thought his job was to create, and I didn't think he created as much as he should have against Oman. I'm going to give Malik a 5. I know opponent-wise, maybe I should bump him lower, but I don't think he was bad enough to give him below a 5. He wasn't terrible, just a 5. A bit disappointing because against Oman, especially if you're an attacking player, I'm expecting you to stand out. He didn't stand out, but he also didn't look bad. I'll give him a 5. It was okay.
There were enough bright moments for me that I think that's going to be a good player there. Like, the tools are there. There was particularly one moment where I went, bam, bam. It was the shot that Tim Weah had that hit the side netting from the left in the first half. It was created by Malik. He got the ball, faked to pass sideways, passed through, got the ball back, and then one-touched it to Musa under a lot of pressure, and then Musa found Weah. It's little moments like that. It's not, he didn't do it consistently, and there were times where he tried to over-dribble, where he tried to like burst through, to get out of trouble on his own and ended up losing the ball. But it's moments like that that make me believe if he can find some consistency, probably get some playing time at PSV, that could be a good player down the line. That could be some good depth for us. But I think 5 is fair. Pulisic. I'll go first on Pulisic. I think he was better than he was against Uzbekistan, but I'm still giving him a 4.
Yeah. Was he better than against Uzbekistan? Maybe because Oman was worse.
Yeah, potentially. But again, we gave that to McKennie, who had lots of space also. So
yeah,
I'll give him a 4.
I'll give a 4 because I don't feel like thinking about it. It was just bad. Okay, not bad. It was just, again, Pulisic's the type of player that you expect him to torch an opponent like Oman. Like, that's the one that they can't stop him. Yeah. And they stopped him in multiple times, in multiple occasions. He wasn't that good. I'll give him a 4. Below average game for Pulisic. Can and should do better.
Yeah. Tim Weah, you go first on Weah.
Tim Weah. Got the hockey assist, I guess, for the first goal. Sorta. He set up Dest. And it was just, it seemed like just a regular Weah-like game, right? He drives down the right flank, very one-dimensional, whips in low crosses. Drive down the right flank, whips in low crosses. It's the same thing as always. That's Weah. Not a bad thing by any means. I'll give him a 6, a bit above average. It wasn't bad. It wasn't actually great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was going to give him a 6 too. Balogun. I actually thought Balogun was played quite well. Again, I don't think he got a ton of service.
No.
The times he got service, he was very deep. Do you know how deep he had to come to receive the ball at times?
Yeah, and there was like this weird defensive shape when when Oman had possession, which wasn't that much, but when Oman had possession, we were playing like on a 4-4-2 diamond defending, where Pulisic and Weah pushed high up the field. Balogun would drop like a central attacking midfielder. Wes and Malik would drop almost wide, and Musa inside. It was like a 4-4-2 diamond. So when we didn't have the ball, he was already always too deep, which is weird because Balogun, at least when I watched him at Rons or Hans in the French league, there were quite a few goals or dangerous moments with Balogun that came in transition. He's fast. He can beat your man off the dribble. He can blow by a goalkeeper on a one-on-one situation. Wasn't that how he scored against PSG, by the way?
Yeah.
So I was expecting you to utilize him a bit higher up the field. So when you steal the ball, you quickly connect and try to hit in transition. But the thing with Gregg is it's very weird because Gregg said after we played Uzbekistan that he wanted to hit them in transition. But clearly, the way he sets up the team, it doesn't seem like he wants to hit the team in transition. If he wanted to
No,
hit them in
we're very
transition,
passive in transition today, up until about the 70th minute.
yeah, and Balogun is one of the biggest weapons you have in transition because it's not going to be Weah because Weah he just goes wide. He never goes towards the goal. So maybe the two best players you would have to hit in transition would be Christian Pulisic that can be very direct towards the goal, and Balogun that's goal hungry. So it was kind of weird to see that he did score a goal, so he gets a bump. I'm giving Balogun a 7.5. You get a goal. It's all, the first goal is always the toughest one, especially in these games against bad opponents. I would even argue that Balogun's goal is the only goal that wasn't weird.
Yeah, that was the only real quality goal.
Like the free kick from Brendan Aaronson, the wall literally opened, and then the goalkeeper had like the reflexes of a 70-year-old. The goal from Pepi, it was less worse because it went in between the defender's legs, so it was kind of complicated. But the goalkeeper should have saved that. That's a good goalkeeper.
He got his fingertips to it, but he dived very late. I don't know if his vision was obstructed because it did, like because he was unsighted by it going to his legs. But yeah, it was still poor goalkeeping.
Matt Turner probably would have saved that. And then the other one was an own goal from across from Kevin Paredes. So,
which, to be honest, if that guy hadn't scored it, it might have gone to Pepi.
Yeah, probably would have been a goal.
From
but at the end of the day, Balogun's goal is like the only like sober goal of this game, Balogun goal. So I'll give him a 7.5.
What I do like, honestly, is that he was a little frustrated at halftime because clearly he wasn't happy with just, I got a goal. Now I can get off the field and be fine. I mean, the fact that he wanted more. I personally think he was frustrated because when we were in transition, he would be making very good runs. But instead of finding him early, we would pass sideways and try to build our way through transition slowly. And I thought, that I don't know, but that might be the reason why he was frustrated. That would be my guess. Yeah, I think 7.5 is fine. I'll give him an 8. He got a goal. I thought he didn't get the service he needed. There was one moment where he got the ball. It was kind of a weird one. He forced the player wide and received the ball with his back to goal. He forced the player back, half turned, and then laid it off, I think, to it was either Weah or Musa, and then made a run into the box and wanted it back. And instead, they kind of did some step overs. I think it was Musa. I think it was Weah. And he was very visibly frustrated with that. So I don't think anything he did was particularly bad. And I think it was a sharp poacher's finish to react quickly to that. 8 is fine for me. The first two subs were Brendan Aaronson and Ricardo Pepi. You want to go first on Pepi?
He also, so Pepi scored a goal. There's always a bonus for that. He had a very good play where he set up Weston McKennie, and McKennie couldn't finish that. It wasn't just the pass. He did not the entire play, but you get the point. He dribbled past the defender, got a good pass. Outside of that, it's kind of hard to judge because for a good amount of minutes that he was in the second half, especially after Aaronson's goal, Oman just kind of seemed like they quit. Like they just said, like,
he also missed a chance.
He missed a header. He missed a
header that he didn't put on target. And then he missed.
Oh, yes. That was almost, I wouldn't say a tap in, but close to a tap in.
No, I don't think it was a tap in because he was wide and there was 4 guys and a goalkeeper there, but you still have to put it on target. If you put it on target and the goalkeeper saves it, that's fine, but you can't hit the side netting.
Yeah, I guess not. A tap in would be the wrong word. Well, I guess it's one level below a tap in.
I thought the one that Malik Tillman set up for him was worse because it was a good pass from Malik Tillman and he pushed it wide.
That one, yes. And also the header, he didn't hit the target either.
That was off the Christopher Lund cross. I'm actually going to give him more of a pass on that one because if you watch that in slow motion, the ball was behind him. He had to stretch backwards to try to get behind it. And so I give him a little more credit for that. It's the one from Tillman that bothers me the most because that was a good cross. It wasn't a cross, but a good cutback from Tillman that he should have at least put on target, and he missed the goal.
But we can argue that he was also making the right runs, the right positioning.
Yeah, and had some good hold-up play also. There was one time where he went to ground and still managed to get the ball to McKennie with a defender on his back.
And he created for McKennie a chance. I think a 7.5 to Pepi is fair.
Yeah, 7.5 is where I would have him as well.
Brendan
it was a nice goal too. It wasn't a tap-in.
No, the goal was nice. It did count with a bit of a help with the goalkeeper's reflexes, but it was a nice goal. Like it wasn't just.
Brendan was an interesting one. Look, the goal was extremely lucky. I don't want to see any takes about how he should take all free kicks.
No, that was a bad free kick, actually.
It was a terrible free kick that hit the wall and bounced in. Great. There was one moment that I really liked from Brenden Aaronson, and I think it might have been the first thing he did when he came on. He took a pass from McKennie with his back to goal, bumped his player out of the way, and turned very nicely with the ball, dribbled into space, but his through ball for Timmy Weah had too much on it. He overcooked it, and it went straight to the goalkeeper. But other than that, I think he ran around. He did Brendan things, ran around, worked hard, tried to press. I think 7 is fine, mostly because of the goal. It still counts as his goal. And he had that one nice moment. Other than that, I don't remember. I mean, he had one shot that the goalkeeper saved, but it was straight at the keeper in transition. I think 7 or 6.5, somewhere in that
I'll go
range.
with 6.5 with you. The reason I do that is I'll put him on a 5.5, which is a tiny bit above average. Did the whole Brenden Aaronson work, hustle, everything, put in effort, and he scored a goal. Whether it was lucky or not, it's a goal, so I give it a 1-point bump. 6.5 is what I'll give Brendan.
I've seen this. Let's talk real quick about this because we've seen this comparison around. I understand what people are trying to say with this comparison, that he's a work rate merchant. But I think comparing him to Areola is unfair. And I'm not a big Aaronson fan by any means. But Areola doesn't even have the basics to be a good soccer player at all. And Areola failed in the English Championship. Brenden Aaronson is probably a good Championship player. If he had stayed with Leeds, he'd probably be just fine. And he may do something in Germany this year. We'll see. I don't think Areola and Aaronson are comparable technically. I think that Areola is a poor man's Brenden Aaronson. I think that might be the best way you could describe it. Areola works hard like Brendan, but in terms of actual skill, there's still a big gap between those two guys. There's still a big gap. Areola would not be able to get 2 quality assists against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. Let me be very clear on that.
Yeah, I think Brendan is a far better player than Areola. I think the only part that the comparison makes sense is if you compare styles of play, right? These are players that they excel on hustling. That's Brenden Aaronson's main attribute. The thing is, the other attributes for Brendan aren't that bad, while Areola is very bad. That's the difference. It's Brendan's not a scrub on the other ones, but he doesn't excel on them. His main thing
I think he has the basics fine. He can connect passes and do well even under pressure at times. I don't think that Areola is anywhere near that. So that's Aaronson, and that was Pepi.
Let me ask you one very nasty question then in regards to that.
Yeah.
And good luck. And I want to see people answering this in the chat. Is Brenden Aaronson, at his level of play, closer to an Areola or closer to a Landon Donovan?
Areola.
He's closer to Areola?
I think so. I mean, Landon Donovan produced at World Cups. He's the number 1 assist in FIFA. He's got the record for most assists.
I have 100%. I'm not questioning the gap between Brendan and Landon.
I am not saying that Aaronson is close to Areola. But if you're asking me the gap between Aaronson and Landon versus the gap between Aaronson and Areola, I'd say the gap between Aaronson and Areola is smaller.
Because if you go many years ago to the national team with Donovan, Brendan would have been a backup to Landon Donovan.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
With the players we have, he would have been the backup of Landon Donovan. Areola is definitely not the option after Brendan Aaronson right now. So my question was mainly towards the gap. The gap between
Yeah.
Donovan and Brendan is big, very big, right?
Yes.
Landon is a player we argue about. Pulisic, our best player. Pulisic and Landon, who's better? Like that's what we argue.
Yeah.
But I also think the gap between Brendan and Areola is actually quite big.
I agree, but
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
quite
it's
big.
as big. I think that Areola, to be honest, would not be a professional player in most countries, like in most
Yeah.
soccer playing countries in the world. I do. I think in most of South America, Areola would not be a pro. I
Yeah,
think
I just
in
don't want people to take the question out of context. My question was in regards to the gap between them, because I think the gap between all of these is big. Brendan to Landon, the gap is big. Brendan to Areola, the gap is also big. I was mainly trying to figure out like which one is bigger.
yeah, yeah. Subs. The next two subs were Mark McKenzie and Ben Kremaski.
Dejuan Jones. Well, oh yeah, yes, Kremaski and McKenzie.
They were the next two, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Dejuan Jones came in later.
And then Paredes came after him. I'm
Yeah.
not going to rate Paredes, even though, well, maybe I will. But
Mm.
Mark McKenzie, I'm just going to give him a 6.5. Didn't really do much wrong. Just was solid. Again,
Mhm.
not tested. By the time those two guys came on, also, Oman had nothing. Like, I'm not going to give him a 7 like I gave the other two center backs because you came on at a time where Oman was demoralized and bleeding. So I'll give him a 6. I'll give McKenzie a 6. And Kremaski, I don't want to be too harsh on an 18-year-old on his debut, but I'll give him a 5.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna say
think
5.
if that wasn't his debut, it was poor enough to be a 4, especially considering how bad Oman were at that point. But he's an 18-year-old kid. It's his debut. I'll bump him up 1 to
Yeah,
5.
he also did give Kevin Paredes the through ball for the cross. That was an own goal. It was him that put that ball. Not that it was a difficult pass, but hockey assist, I guess. I'll
Sure.
give him a 5. Kremaski. Yeah, he didn't look that great, but it's an 18-year-old first game for the United States. I also think that he's not U.S. men's national team level yet, so he was put in that position. It's a recruit. They're trying to recruit, and he's called in based off recruitment and potential. So I didn't expect much more. So I'll give him a 5 average. Can't be really too harsh on him.
I think Kremaski will be a good under 20 player for us this cycle if he
Hmm.
wants to play with us this cycle. I don't know if we will. I think we might push him into the Olympic squad, which personally I don't think he's ready for. But that's a different discussion. Um, and then Dewan and Paredes, I honestly would not normally rate them, but they both came on and got assists. Dewan got the assist to Pepi, and Paredes got the assist on the
So
own goal.
sevens. Just give them
Just
sevens.
give them both 7 for coming in and impacting the game when they did. Berhalter.
I actually think today Berhalter. I mean, he'll get
I think 7 is fair for Berhalter.
7.5. He played a creative attacking midfielder, not as a 10, but still he did that. The subs were fine. Some of them were pre-planned. The ones that weren't, he put them. He didn't. He gave opportunities to Paredes, Pepi. I mean, I'll give him a 7.5 for Gregg, and he got the win.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing to complain about Berhalter today specifically. That's what I'll say.
No. I mean, you could maybe argue the overuse of crosses, but at this point, if it got the job done against Oman, fine. Let's see how he looks against Germany and Ghana. Speaking of Germany and Ghana, what do we do going forward? To me, we don't need to change much. I would probably, in terms of the roster, I would honestly bring either the same 3 goalkeepers. Let's just talk real quick about roster and who we want to bring and what we want to see. I would probably bring Turner and Horvath, and then if you want to bring Callender as the 3rd, fine. If you want to bring Gaga as the 3rd, I might actually find that a little more interesting. He is playing now as a starter. If you want to bring Celentano as a 3rd, I'm also fine with that. I don't really have strong opinions. I would bring Lund again so we can get a look at him against better opponents, him and A-Rob. Scalliad and Dest, obviously. Center backs. Probably bring Richards. I don't think CCV will be healthy by then. Sounds
Probably
like he's out
not.
for a
Celtic
while.
even signed the center back.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get him. But so Ream, Richards. Honestly, I'd love to see Brooks get called in. Gregg is never going to do that.
Not
His
gonna happen.
international career is over. Let's be honest. Are you worried about Ream at all?
Um, Depends on what you mean by worried. Like
Like
the
he's had
thing
a
with
poor start to the season, and
yeah,
he did
yeah, but
not look great in the last game. And he is
I'm not.
almost 36.
The thing is, I'm looking forward to 2026. I'm not expecting Tim Ream to be there. I'm
Right.
expecting him to fall off eventually.
But what about
Um,
2024? Are you worried that if he has a poor season with Fulham, that could impact his spot come Copa America?
well, if he does, then hopefully Greg Berhalter makes the right decision and plays Chris Richards with maybe Cameron Carter-Vickers, center backs that are reliable. I would say I'm not worried about Tim Ream. I'm worried about who is Greg Berhalter going to pick to replace Tim Ream. I hope Austin Trusty maybe steps it up and gets minutes. But yes, my concern is not really on Ream. It's like, will Berhalter bring back Aaron Long? Will he play Zimmerman?
Yeah.
What's he? So that is maybe the concern. It's more about like who's Berhalter going to choose if Ream falls off rather than Ream falling off. Because I think Ream will fall off eventually. The guy's 36, 37.
Or will he continue with Ream? Because you know how Gregg is. Once he likes you, performances don't matter that much. So if down the line Ream starts playing poorly and Gregg's like, nope, I like him now. We're like, hey,
Well,
enough
well,
already.
I mean, look, a poor form Tim Ream will still be better than Aaron Long. So I guess with Gregg, I'll still be. We got better options, but I'll say I'm not going to complain too much because I'm worried about who you'll bring.
Gregg has really mastered your story about the husband and the pig, huh?
Yes, and
He's
I'm
really
not.
mastered that.
He really put that pig in the house for us for
Yeah.
so long that now that he removed the pig, we don't complain about anything else in this house.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Now it's just a rat. It's not a
No.
pig, so we're fine.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a rat, and we're like, hey, that's smaller than the pig. I'll take it. Doesn't smell as bad as the pig. We'll take it.
It only has the plague.
Yeah.
All right. And then midfielders, honestly, everyone the same, except I'd bring Gio Reyna and Johnny and Adams if they're healthy. Obviously, hopefully they'll all three be
Mhm.
healthy. You know anything about Johnny? Is he back for this?
He's expected to be back. When he got injured, he's expected to be back in 10 to 14 days. So he should be
Okay,
back right after. They might rest him the first game back because they have the Libertadores at the end of the month. But he should be back for that game. So if he's back for that game, he's good for the. So he's back this month.
great. And Adams and Gio will both be back as well. Gio could be back this weekend, and so could Adams. So something to
Well,
watch out
Gio
for.
already played for.
Yeah, he already played 60 minutes in a friendly, so it's
Yeah.
reasonable to believe he'll be on the bench this weekend, and
Mhm.
Dortmund will need him. They look like shit once again.
They've been like that for a while.
Yeah, for years. I would bring us if Taylor Booth is back. I would bring Pulisic, Weah, Booth, Paredes. I guess Aaronson. Those five. I think Booth and Paredes deserve more looks with this team.
Yeah, if some of them are injured or here and there, and you want to mix it up, I would also be okay with throwing Paxton Aaronson into the mix.
Yeah, no,
Better
that's
than Ben Kremaski right now. That would be a better option.
yeah. I think Paxton actually deserves. Poor guy didn't get under 20s, Nations League, or Gold Cup, and is starting minutes, getting minute. He started for Eintracht
Got an
Frankfurt.
assist on the last weekend.
Got an assist coming off the bench, and he does seem to be a little bigger in terms of like they're beefing him up a little. You know.
They're feeding him what they feed the Bayern players.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need the Bayern recipe, and someone needs to stuff it down Brendan Aaronson's throat. Like, whatever we need to do, get him on that Bayern training regimen and diet because.
So we should send Brendan Aronson to Bayern on loan for 6 months. Even if he doesn't play, it doesn't matter. Just so he
Yeah.
can get jacked. Yeah.
A few players in this camp I would not bring to the next one: Cade Cowell, Tanner Tessman, and Ben Kremaski. It's like I know they were here because of injuries mostly, but no.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring them.
And then Sargent will still be injured, looks like. So the same, Balogun and Pepi. No Jesus, no Haji, no. Just those are our two guys until Sargent's healthy. And they both scored in this camp. Pepi got 2, Balogun got 1. I will say, I wonder if the media is going to make as big a deal out of Pepi's hitting 10 goals as they did of Jesus Ferreira. Because he's got 9 now. And he hit those 10 goals at age, well, he has 1 more, but likely to hit at age 20. If he scores against either Ghana or against Germany or in any of the 2 November games, he will hit 10 goals. And he'll be 2 years younger than Jesus when he does. Remember when Jesus hit 10 goals? It was like the new Pele. Like the media was like gushing about it. So I hope they make the same deal as they, Ferreira as they do about Pepi.
I think the good thing that will be too is What we'll notice is if Gregg continues to put out rosters like this and he doesn't call up Jesus, Areola, Roldan, what a lot of people are going to notice is we're just going to stop talking about him. Like the whole hate propaganda thing that they
Yeah,
try, the narrative, we're just not going to talk about him because eventually, just like Leggett, that was a player that everyone picked on a lot,
and
rightfully so.
Zardes.
Yeah, Zardes, no one talks really much about, besides when Leggett had the whole thing with Becky G, but Zardes, I even forgot about Zardes.
Yeah,
If he doesn't call them, also you'll see a big level of reduction in terms of like showing Jesus's misses in MLS. People are going to stop talking about him. That's what's
yeah, it'll
going to
just
happen.
become irrelevant. The idea that you're hating on a player is not true. You don't want them on your national team. And when they are rightfully not called up to your national team, you forget about them because they are irrelevant. So, yeah, Gregg, if there's one thing you need to do now, pick up the goddamn phone and call Gio and get this done. From everything we've heard, Gio will be in that camp. Let's see how he performs for Dortmund now. But this was a much better way to end the camp. If we had performed like we did against Uzbekistan, it would have been a real bummer. Nothing to get
Yeah.
too excited about, but better.
Well, one thing to say too is I talked to a player that was with the U.S. men's national team, and it looks like among the players they know already that Gio is coming to the next camp. Apparently, from talks from Berhalter, not Berhalter and Gio, they haven't talked, but Berhalter has already kind of like it looks like he implied that to some of the players, and some of the players talked to Gio, and Gio pretty much told them too that he's open. So in camp, they're already pretty much saying that Gio is back in October as long as he's healthy.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for hanging. Tac, you're going to do the 7 things we learned tomorrow, or no?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna try to see if I can get 7 things here. It'd be tough.
I'll do the Patreon either tomorrow or the next day. I fly back tomorrow night to LA. So, yeah, thanks for hanging, guys. Thanks to everybody who sent super chats. Really, Germany and Ghana. Oh, wait, real quick. 2 more super chats that I missed. The field played way better and faster, in my opinion. I mean, I thought it was about the same against St. Louis. But
Maybe
yeah.
more time and space gave that impression.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Tom Bowers, GGG hates Tac since he's not a tactical manager.
I think actually Greg Berhalter is an overly tactical, too much tactics
Yeah,
sometimes.
he's tactical manager, tactical manager plus plus.
Well,
That's who Greg is.
I am the tactical manager. He is a tactical manager.
You'll never see Tac telling us to bark like African dogs. Let's just put it that
No,
way.
no,
So,
no.
all right, guys, have a great night. I know East Coast, it's late for some of you, and tomorrow's a work/school day. Thanks for hanging. Obviously, you know Tac. Follow him on Tactical Manager TV if you are not. And we'll see you guys on the weekend. Some big games happening. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.